Have you ever felt like you loved someone truly, intensely, and gave so much, but in the end, you were left holding only broken pieces? Have you ever wondered why they left? Why a seemingly dreamlike love vanished like mist? Or perhaps you're still navigating the path of finding love, feeling lonely, wondering if maybe you're not good enough or deserving of a fulfilling relationship? My friends, today we're going to touch on a timeless topic, one that perhaps all of us have wrestled with, lost sleep over, or felt stuck in: love. We often blame circumstances, third parties, and fate. But could there be another truth, a somewhat more brutal truth, lying deep within ourselves and in how we perceive and build relationships? Today I want to invite you to confront a message that might startle you, a message drawn from a literary masterpiece, a statement so blunt it might even feel offensive. If you're not good enough, loving anyone is futile. Whoa, hold on. Don't click away or feel attacked just yet. I understand this sounds incredibly harsh, but trust me, behind that bluntness lies a profound lesson about ourselves, our value, and how we create happiness and love. And to understand it better, there's no better way than to step into the world of Love in the Time of Cholera, the novel hailed as an encyclopedia of love by the great Gabriel García Márquez. This isn't just a legendary 51-year love story. It's an unflinching mirror reflecting the complexities, the calculations, the illusions, and the extraordinary efforts involved in the journey of loving and being loved. Are you curious to find out why being good enough is so crucial in love? Is it really the deciding factor? Let's embark on this deep exploration together. It might just change the way you look at love and at yourself. All right, let's begin. Before we dive deep into that turbulent love story, let's spend a moment talking about its creator and the stature of this work. Gabriel García Márquez, or Gabo as he's affectionately known, wasn't just a writer. He was a giant in the world of literature. The 1982 Nobel Prize in Literature was a well-deserved honor for the man who breathed life into magical realism, creating real and dreamlike worlds where the extraordinary and the mundane blend seamlessly. And Love in the Time of Cholera is a very special work. It was written right after he received the Nobel Prize, and remarkably, Gabo confessed that this was the work he was most satisfied with, the literary child that pleased him the most. Imagine a writer at the pinnacle of fame holding such special affection for one particular book. It must contain something truly formidable. The renowned New York Times didn't hesitate to call it the greatest love story of all time. Critics and readers worldwide, from respected platforms like Goodreads to academic analyses, agree that this is a complex, multi-layered book exploring love in all its facets: infatuation, obsession, faithfulness, betrayal, practicality, sacrifice, and even the ravages of time. One Goodreads reviewer wrote, "This is not your typical love story. It makes you question the very definition of love." So what's the specific story that resonates so powerfully and hauntingly? It's the epic saga of Florentino Ariza's love for Fermina Daza, spanning over half a century, precisely 51 years, 9 months, and 4 days. An unbelievably long time, isn't it? Florentino, a poor romantic telegraph operator with the soul of a poet, falls madly in love with Fermina, a beautiful girl from a newly wealthy merchant family, proud and captivating. Their love blossoms through hundreds of letters, through mournful violin melodies played beneath her window late at night. A love that seemed pure and defiant of all obstacles. But life, as we know, is rarely a cheap romance novel. The walls of social class, family opposition, and more importantly, the collision with reality pushed them apart. After a somewhat brutal decision, Fermina marries Dr. Juvenal Urbino, a man embodying everything the upper class desired: wealth, status, education, prestige. And Florentino? Nursing his undying love, the young man vows to himself to wait until the day Fermina's husband dies. And he truly waits. For over 50 long years, while Fermina lives the life of an upper-class matron, Florentino struggles to climb the ladder of success while also engaging in a series of other affairs. The shocking number mentioned is 622 lovers. But his ultimate goal, the sole destination of his life's journey, always remains Fermina. What do you think? A story that sounds both extremely romantic and somewhat irrational and obsessive, right? But it's precisely this complexity that makes us pause and reflect. Behind this seemingly legendary love story, Marquez skillfully embeds profound messages about society, human nature, and especially about the intricate link between personal capability and happiness in love. And now, we'll peel back the romantic veneer to touch the somewhat thorny core. Why is it said, if you're not good enough, loving anyone is futile? Let's start with Florentino's first failure. Let's rewind time and go back to the vibrant youth of Florentino and Fermina. Imagine a love born from the most romantic gestures. Florentino, back then, was the epitome of romantic love. A soaring, poetic soul, a heart loving passionately, ready to do anything for the one he adored. He wrote letters pages long, using the most beautiful, heartfelt words. He played the violin under her window at midnight, defying ridicule or danger. He lived and breathed his love for Fermina. And Fermina? A beautiful young woman, sheltered, perhaps also yearning for an intense love like in novels, was captivated by his devotion. She replied to his letters, her heart stirred by his music. They fell deeply in love, secretly and full of dreams. In the intoxicating rush of young love, Florentino proposed, and Fermina said yes. It seemed like a fairy tale ending was in sight. But my friends, life rarely follows the script of a fairy tale, does it? The harsh bells of reality began to chime. Fermina's father, Lorenzo Daza, a shrewd, pragmatic man who saw his daughter as a valuable asset to trade for social status, quickly discovered this unsuitable match. In his eyes, who was Florentino? Just a nameless nobody, an illegitimate child, a lowly telegraph operator with no future, nothing to his name. How could he possibly be worthy of his precious daughter? He saw Florentino as an obstacle that needed immediate removal. What did he do? He confronted Florentino, insulted him, and threatened him. Then he took Fermina far away, through many cities and lands, hoping that out of sight, out of mind. A common tactic used by parents back then, wouldn't you agree? But Florentino's love at that time was so intense that his letters still managed to cross all distances, reaching Fermina and keeping the connection alive. Seeing that physical separation wasn't working, Lorenzo Daza decided to play a psychological game. He let Fermina decide for herself when she met Florentino again. He believed that face-to-face, his daughter would realize the unworthiness. And this is where the real tragedy unfolds, a turning point that changes everything. When Fermina returned after a long journey that had broadened her horizons and perhaps made her more practical, she met Florentino again. But the person standing before her was no longer the romantic poet from the letters. It was Florentino in the flesh, somewhat poorly dressed, thin, lacking vitality, with a slightly pleading look in his eyes, and emanating an aura of poverty and inferiority compared to the world she had just experienced. Can you imagine Fermina's shock at that moment? All the illusions of romantic love, of the dream prince, suddenly shattered. She realized that the love she had adored, that she thought was eternal, was actually built on beautiful words and her own imagination. It wasn't strong enough to withstand the starkness of reality. She felt terrified by the catastrophic mistake, and she made her decision decisively, coldly. No, please don't come closer. Forget about it. What a painful blow for Florentino. Why did this happen? We might rush to conclude that Fermina was materialistic and fickle, but let's look a bit deeper. Fermina's decision wasn't just about money or status. It was about disillusionment. She recognized the vast discrepancy between the idealized image she loved and the actual person Florentino was at that time. He, despite his immense love, lacked the fundamental elements required to build the kind of life she and her society expected. To put it bluntly, Florentino wasn't good enough at that moment. Good enough here isn't just about poetic talent, but a combination of factors. A stable career, financial potential, self-confidence, and the ability to provide a secure and stable life. As Paulo Coelho said on the novel By the River Piedra, I sat down and wept. The weak would never enter the kingdom of love, which is a harsh and merciless kingdom, and that women only yield to men who know how to be firm and have the courage to take them securely in hand, because only these men could provide the security they needed to face life. Sounds unfair and discriminatory, doesn't it? But try to put yourself in the story's volatile and harsh social context. A sense of security and assurance for the future wasn't a luxury. It was a basic need. Could Florentino, at that time, with his burning love but empty pockets and a dim future, provide that security? It was highly unlikely. The philosopher Alain de Botton wrote in Essays in Love, "We love not just others for who they are, but for who they are in relation to us, and maybe for what they represent, the life they promise." Young Florentino might have had a beautiful soul, but the life he promised then was too precarious, too unappealing for a Fermina standing at the threshold of her adult life. The idea of love in a cottage sounds romantic, but maintaining that love in the cottage amidst life's storms is incredibly difficult. Sooner or later, worries about daily bread, social pressures, differing visions can slowly erode the most beautiful initial feelings if the foundation of material means and personal capability is too weak. So, what's the first lesson we can draw from Florentino's failure? It is this: pure love, no matter how intense, struggles to survive sustainably without a corresponding foundation in reality. And that foundation is largely built upon the value, capability, and position of each individual. Florentino's weakness wasn't just his circumstances, but also that he was too immersed in romantic dreams and forgot to focus on his self-development alongside loving. He wasn't good enough to hold on to his love against the waves of reality. Does this make you think about your past relationships, or about the standards you or society set for a partner? Let's take a moment to reflect on that. Now that we understand why Florentino failed initially, let's turn our attention to the path Fermina chose. Did her choice, based on reason and security, truly bring her happiness? After the emotional turmoil and decisive break with Florentino, Fermina falls into a quiet period. And then, destiny, or her father's arrangement, brings Dr. Juvenal Urbino into her life. Recall the setting. Fermina falls seriously ill, and her father calls Dr. Urbino. Who is he? An ideal figure in the upper-class society of the time. Handsome, from an aristocratic family. Highly educated, studied in Paris. A brilliant medical career. Wealthy, sophisticated, and highly influential. From the first meeting, Dr. Urbino is captivated by Fermina's beauty and spirit. Her father, of course, sees a golden opportunity to elevate the family's status and eagerly facilitates the match. What about Fermina? Perhaps after the overwhelming experience with Florentino's impractical romantic love, she had become more cautious and rational. She saw in Urbino stability, security, a solid social standing, and a guaranteed future. He wasn't passionate and didn't write fiery letters like Florentino, but he was attentive and caring in the manner of a mature, responsible man. He represented a life of order and prestige, and she chose him, a choice that seemed entirely logical and wise by societal standards. At first glance, this marriage looks like a perfect match, a fair exchange, doesn't it, folks? Let's try applying the equity theory or equal value principle we discussed earlier. Fermina brought youth, radiant beauty, an allure that added to Dr. Urbino's prestige and admiration wherever they appeared. In return, Dr. Urbino gave her everything she and her father desired: wealth, the status of a respected doctor's wife, societal esteem, and a life free from material worries. The scales seemed quite balanced at the start. They were the ideal couple in everyone's eyes. But my friends, this is precisely when the real marathon begins. Marriage isn't a destination. It's a long journey requiring both partners to run together, maintain pace, and overcome difficult stretches. If one person runs too fast, leaving the other behind, or if one runs out of steam and stops, the shared finish line becomes hard to reach. And what happened to the seemingly perfect marriage of Fermina and Urbino? Time, that cruel enemy of beauty, and sometimes of love itself, started to take its toll. Fermina, as years passed, her youthful beauty gradually faded. She became a devoted wife and mother, managing the household and living within the confines of a 19th century upper-class woman. She retained her pride, but seemed confined by that role. Her growth in terms of knowledge, personal experience, or individual voice seemed limited by the immense shadow of her famous husband. Her physical appearance value decreased, while other values didn't show corresponding breakthroughs. Dr. Urbino, conversely, his career flourished and his reputation and influence grew. He engaged in social activities, traveled widely, and broadened his horizons. The gap in experience and worldview between him and his wife became increasingly apparent. Do you see it? The scales started to tip. The initial equal value gradually disappeared. Urbino, perhaps feeling his wife was no longer attractive enough, no longer keeping pace with his development, sought pleasure elsewhere. He had affairs. Although there was a later confession and return, trust was broken and the wound remained. The final years of this marriage, spanning over half a century, are depicted by Marquez without any rosy tint. They were filled with constant arguments over trivial matters, heavy silences, and an emotional distance, even while living under the same roof. Fermina, the woman who seemingly had everything, money, status, family, lived in a marriage lacking genuine connection and understanding. She had material security, but lost deep emotional intimacy. The writer George Eliot once asked, "What loneliness is more lonely than distrust?" Though living amidst wealth and prestige, Fermina likely experienced that profound loneliness within her own marriage as the initial balance faded and true empathy was lost. What's another crucial lesson this story teaches us? Happiness in marriage or long-term love depends not just on finding the right or balanced person initially, but, more importantly, on the ability of both partners to maintain and nurture that balance over time. It requires continuous effort from both sides, effort to grow personally so as not to fall behind, effort to understand and accept the partner's changes, and effort to cultivate affection and connection. If one partner stops trying, or develops in a vastly different direction. Distance is almost inevitable, no matter how perfect the beginning seemed. Are you in a long-term relationship? Are you and your partner running this marathon together? Or is one leaving the other behind? These are questions worth pondering. So we've seen Fermina's path, a seemingly safe road filled with hidden corners and silent losses. Now, let's return to our protagonist, Florentino Ariza. What did he do during those 51 long years of waiting? Was it just hopeless anticipation? Or did he have another plan? Over half a century. Can you imagine? Enough time for a newborn baby to become a grandparent. Yet Florentino Ariza spent that time waiting for a woman who had rejected him and married someone else. It sounds insane and unrealistic, but was it just passive waiting? Or was there a spectacular process of transformation and self-creation behind that wait? Remember Florentino after Fermina's rejection. He was heartbroken, desperate, his world seemingly collapsed. But that pain and the humiliation of being deemed not good enough planted a seed of steely determination in his heart. He had to change. He had to become strong, wealthy, and powerful. He had to prove Fermina wrong for rejecting him. He had to rebuild his value so that one day, if fate gave him a chance, he could stand proudly before his old love. And Florentino didn't just talk. He turned pain into action, embarking on a self-improvement journey that lasted 51 years. About career, from zero to hero. This is the most impressive aspect. He was no longer the dreamy telegraph operator. He sought work at the River Company of the Caribbean, founded by his uncle. Starting from the lowest positions, he showed intelligence, diligence, and unwavering willpower. He learned constantly, overcame challenges, and faced fierce competition and schemes in the business world. He gradually gained trust, climbed the career ladder through various positions, accumulated experience and power, and finally, through his merit, became president of the River Company of the Caribbean. Just imagine, from an unknown entity, he became one of the region's most powerful and wealthy men. A complete metamorphosis in status and economic potential. About health. Despite the passing years, Florentino didn't neglect himself. He understood that to wait and to be able to fight for love when the time came, he needed to be healthy. He took care of his body and maintained his energy, vitality, and good posture even into old age. This wasn't weary waiting, it was active preparation. About love. As mentioned, Florentino had 622 affairs during his waiting period. This number shocks many readers, especially women, who feel it tarnishes the image of his eternal love. Critics also debate the meaning of this detail. Some suggest that it's Marquez's way of showing the complexity of human nature, and that idealized love and physical needs can coexist. Others see it as Florentino's way of staying alive, maintaining emotion, and preventing his heart from drying up during the long wait. However interpreted, one thing is clear. None of those 622 women could replace Fermina's unique position in his heart. She remained his lighthouse, the ultimate goal of his life. So, looking back at this entire process, do you see it? Florentino didn't just sit idly waiting for a miracle. He acted. He spent over half a century not only nurturing love in his heart, but also building an entirely new Florentino. A man who was successful, strong, confident, wealthy, and experienced. This is where the saying, instead of chasing horses, cultivate grass, becomes incredibly meaningful. Florentino didn't try to cling to Fermina when he was weak. He stepped back, focused on cultivating grass, nurturing his inner garden and outer world. He believed that when his pasture was green enough, the horse would return. And then that fateful day arrived. Dr. Urbino died. An opportunity Florentino had awaited for 51 years, 9 months, and 4 days. Right at the funeral, he appeared before Fermina, the grieving widow, and confessed his undying love. A rather abrupt and shocking move, wasn't it? Fermina's initial reaction was anger. She threw him out. But the Florentino of today was vastly different from the Florentino of 50 years prior. He was no longer the weak young man easily crushed. He possessed confidence and a different standing. He started writing letters again. But this time, the letters contained not just love, but the depth and understanding of a man who had tasted all the ups and downs of life. Those letters, arriving precisely when Fermina felt most lonely and adrift, gradually touched her heart. Finally, Fermina accepted Florentino's invitation to take a fateful journey on his company's riverboat. And on that legendary river, isolated from the world, their seemingly extinguished love was rekindled, passionate, and perhaps even deeper than before, because it was built on a foundation of shared experience and mutual understanding. Now, we must confront an unavoidable question, one that might shatter the final romantic image. Would Fermina have accepted Florentino the second time if he wasn't the wealthy and powerful president of the river company of the Caribbean, but still just a poor, sickly old telegraph operator? The answer, however unflattering, is one that perhaps everyone understands implicitly. No. The truth is, Fermina was won over this time not just by Florentino's persistent love, but by the entirety of who he was at that moment. His success and security. He offered the material safety and social standing she was accustomed to. His health and energy. He was still physically capable of enjoying life with her. His understanding and connection. He now had the life experience to understand and share with her. The proof of his love. That extraordinary weight was the most eloquent testament. Florentino won not just with love, but with the entire process of relentless striving to become good enough. He turned himself into a blooming flower and finally attracted the one he loved. What's the lesson here, folks? Self-development is not just the path to personal success, but also a key factor in building and maintaining happiness and love. When you focus on enhancing your inner worth and your external foundations, you not only become more attractive to others, but also gain confidence, proactivity, and the ability to create balanced, sustainable relationships. You don't need to chase anyone because you become a magnet attracting good things, as Florentino himself proved. When you are truly good enough, real love, even if delayed, can still find you and stay. Does Florentino's story inspire you? Do you see yourself or someone you know in this journey of cultivating grass? We've journeyed through the emotional landscapes of both Florentino and Fermina. Now let's step back, look at the bigger picture, and draw the final, truly meaningful lessons for our own self-development paths. So, we've journeyed together through more than half a century of love, waiting, marriage, betrayal, and reunion in the world of love in the time of cholera. What a long and emotional ride, hasn't it been? One of the things that makes this novel so great and authentic is that Marquez didn't idealize any of his characters. As we've analyzed, and as many readers and critics have pointed out, Dr. Urbino, a pillar of high society, yet unfaithful, somewhat patriarchal, and overly concerned with appearances. Florentino Ariza, faithful in spirit yet promiscuous physically. His final act is also tinged with selfishness. Fermina Daza, strong, proud, practical, but made choices driven more by reason and circumstance than pure love. Sometimes appearing cold, they are all flesh and blood human beings, full of contradictions, desires, mistakes, and also admirable efforts. It's precisely this imperfection that makes the story so real. It's not a rigid moral lesson. It's an authentic slice of the complexity of human life and love. Don't you agree? We often learn more from imperfect characters, right? Because we see ourselves in them. We see the struggles and the difficult choices that we also face in our lives. So, from a self-development perspective, what is the core lesson, the most powerful message that Love in the Time of Cholera offers us here at BookSmart Insights? I believe the deepest message lies in self-awareness, responsibility for one's own life, including emotional life, and the power of proactively creating value. Let's revisit the theme statement. If you're not good enough, loving anyone is futile. Now, after journeying through the entire story, hopefully you no longer see it as overly harsh or judgmental. Instead, view it as a blunt reminder. To build beautiful, lasting love, you cannot rely solely on emotions or luck. You need to build a solid foundation for yourself from the inside out. Firstly, become the best version of yourself. That's your first responsibility. Instead of blaming fate or others when love doesn't work out, look within. Have you truly made an effort to grow? Have you cultivated your knowledge, skills, health, spirit, and character? As the educator Booker T. Washington said, success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life, as by the obstacles which he has overcome. Focus on overcoming the obstacles within yourself and upgrade yourself. When you shine from within, you naturally attract positivity. Secondly, understand balance. Respect your value and your partner's. The equity principle isn't about keeping score, but about reminding us of the need for mutual respect and shared growth in a healthy relationship. Strive to be a balanced partner, one who can both give and receive, be both independent and connected harmoniously. Thirdly, the power of persistence. Cultivating grass takes time. The journey of self-development, like building true love, isn't instantaneous. Florentino needed over 50 years. We might not need that long, but it certainly requires persistence, patience, and faith in the process. Don't get discouraged if you don't see results immediately. Fourthly, love yourself first, the foundation of all love. Perhaps this is the most crucial lesson. How you treat yourself sets the standard for how others treat you. Learn to love, accept, and care for yourself first. When you are fulfilled from within, you can love others healthily and unconditionally. As the Zen master Thich Yin Hein taught, understanding is the foundation of love. Understand yourself first. The American inspirational speaker Lisa Nichols often says, "You have to love yourself before anyone else can love you." And not just love, but build a self worth loving. Recall the file metaphor. Don't chase a horse if you aren't strong enough yourself. Better to use that time to cultivate grass. When spring comes and the flowers bloom, the horse will be drawn to you. Do you choose to be the tired horse chaser or the patient grass cultivator waiting for spring? The message isn't that you must be rich or powerful to be loved. It's that you need to become whole, internally strong, possess your own value, and know how to stand firmly on your own 2 feet. When you achieve that, you won't need to desperately seek love. Love will find you, a love worthy of the amazing person you've worked hard to become. My dear friends at BookSmart Insights, so we've journeyed together through a long, deep exploration of love in the time of cholera and faced a somewhat thorny but essential message: the importance of becoming good enough on the path to finding and keeping love. I hope today's analysis and sharing have given you new perspectives on love, relationships, and most importantly, on yourself and your role in creating happiness. The final message I want to leave you with isn't one of pessimism or inadequacy, but one of sincere encouragement. Love yourself enough to constantly strive to become the best version of yourself. Invest in your intellect, health, soul, and core values. Cultivate the grass in your own garden diligently. Because when you truly shine from within, you not only achieve success and peace for yourself, but also gain the ability to build meaningful, strong, and love-filled relationships. Remember, how you love yourself teaches others how to love you. And if you want to continue this journey of self-discovery through books, seeking more knowledge and inspiration to become good enough each day, don't forget that BookSmart Insights is always here to walk alongside you. I'd love to know your thoughts on today's topic. Do you agree with the message, if you're not good enough, loving anyone is futile? Or do you have different experiences or perspectives to share? Please leave a comment below. I genuinely look forward to reading them and chatting with you. If you found this video helpful and meaningful, please don't hesitate to hit the like button to support the channel and share this video with friends you think might also need to hear this message. If you're not yet part of the BookSmart Insights community, please hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell right next to it. Why? Because you won't want to miss any of the deep book analyses and valuable self-development lessons coming your way. Thank you so much for listening and journeying with me through this rather long video. Your support is the greatest motivation for me to continue creating meaningful content. May you always be strong, confident, and find true happiness on the path you choose in life and in love. Goodbye, and I'll see you in the next video from BookSmart Insights.